Well, does your Nespresso Vertuoline sound like mine when it's making a cup of coffee? Well, it's probably due to a bad bearing, and I'm going to show you today how to replace that bearing. Alright, so the tools that we're going to need today is our Torx T20 to remove the screws here, a T10 screwdriver to remove 2 screws here, a small pair of needle nose pliers, and a small flat blade screwdriver. So first thing we need to do is take off the cover. We're going to take off the cover by undoing the screw here. This is a T20. And on the other side, and then there are 2 screws in here that are T10. We need to remove those as well. One here. And on the other side. So now we can pop this top cover off. Spread it apart on the back and it pops off. And then here too. Just spread it apart and the top cover pops right off. So now this mechanism is closed, and to open it, it's held on with some springs. So you can push on the little plastic tabs, extend the springs, and then it'll pop open again. So there's a tricky little spring here. We have to move that spring first. Or else it'll go flying. And we'll just remember to put that back. The other spring back here won't go flying. So we need to open it. And there's 2 springs here and here. They need to come off as well. So we just pull down here. And then we just pull down here and take the spring off. Now we can take off the switch mechanism, and this white piece pops off. We just need to have our little flat blade screwdriver, and we insert it here, pop it off here, and same thing in the back. Pop it off there. It's a little rubber protector over the hot water pipe. You can take that off and it just pops on later. Now this just gently can move to the side and flip out of the way. So now we need to remove these 4 screws, which are also T10, and to take off the cover. Alright, so now we can take this cover off. Just gently lay it to the side, and then we can take off the hot water tube. And there's a little stainless steel piece that sticks out. That may fall off, so be cautious with that. Okay, the next step is we need to remove this cover here. This cover is held on with a spring. So we need to push down. We need to push down on it and turn anti-clockwise. And be cautious because it's held on with a spring. Let it go gently. You can take that off. So next step is our bearing is right underneath here. We need to loosen this nut. This is a nut and the bearing is directly underneath it. So we can open this up. Again, anti-clockwise. Just unscrew that nut. And that comes off. Turn this around. Little spring there came off. Now we can remove the piercer, and the piercer is right underneath here. Be very careful. You can just grab it and pull it out, and it'll come out. Be very careful because it's very sharp here. And then this shows us our bearing, and our bearing is right here, and we can push up, and the bearing will come out. And that's our old bearing. And grab my new bearing, which is a 6901 bearing, and we'll put the new bearing in, and then we'll just reassemble. So we'll put the bearing back in, put the piercing unit back in, secure it with a nut. Now we can replace the spring. Put the spring on. Put the cover on. Find where it keys in. And turn clockwise to hold it in place. So now we can put this cover back on. Just like that. Cover back in place, put the 4 T10 screws back in. And we can put the switch cover back in place. We can connect our spring again. That. Disengage the unit. Put these little springs back on, just like that. Close it up. Put our little rubber cover back in place. So now we can put our cover back on. The easiest way to put the cover back on is to engage it as if it's locked, like you're making a coffee. So we'll turn it all the way clockwise until it locks. And we'll do the same thing with the cover. We'll put it in the locked position, and that's in the locked position. Hold it there. And you can pop the cover back on. Like that. And just test it. Now that's in the neutral spot, and that's in the open spot. And it works. So now we just have to do up our screws. 220. The other side. We open it up. Do the two T10s. And the T10 on the other side. That's all there is to putting in a new bearing. So now let's test it out and see if we made it any more quiet. Well, that sounds much better. And I think there's more chroma too. I guess a new bearing will do that for you. Thanks for watching.